Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to review Risky Business to really define how risque this movie goes out of its way to be. So, I've gone on to review stuff like Sensation recently, which I call the Irish Risky Business. So, check that movie out if you're to go on and find interest into seeing a film that's very similar to this. I would probably also go on and throw stuff in like Tom Cruise's All the Right Moves or Eyes Wide Shut. There is to, of course, be The Girl Next Door, Weird Science, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It kind of goes on, of which that I can kind of throw names of movies in here. Also, the Dustin Hoffman movie, The Graduate. So, Risky Business is on the skin o-meter, I guess, if we're gonna go on and just be throwing that out there now. I feel that Risky Business is actually quite tame. In all honesty, we have Joel, which I share the real life name of, because Sand isn't actually my actual name. I'm sorry, I hate to break it to people. I have a real life boring name. So, Joel is to make his way into a dream sequence in the beginning of this film where he goes on to explain this, that he stumbles upon his neighbor's home, goes throughout the entire house, going into the bathroom to find that there's a girl in the shower and she's heavily soaped herself up, and Joel is to ask her if she wants him to leave, and she's to go on and say, well, if you just soap up my back, then I'll let you stay. So that, I guess, is to be as skin as it gets. But there is also to be when Joel meets up with Lana, not Lana, Lana. It's weird. So Joel meets up with Lana, and what ends up happening is that Lana starts taking off her clothing, and then all of a sudden this door comes bursting open, and there's a heavy amount of wind that is going on here, and then just Lana's clothes is just sifting in the wind as we're seeing a good half of her entire body, and we're enjoying it in all of her glory. And that is to be a scene. There is also to be another dream sequence where Joel is going on to be with a babysitter and he's on top of her. And then all of a sudden, out this window, there is to be a huge mash of people that are all going on and existing, watching what exactly Joel is doing. Like the cops come, Joel's parents come, the babysitter's father all of a sudden appears, and it's pandemonium. Everybody's going on and watching the sight of Joel being intimate with said babysitter. Also, within this movie, there's a lot of moan noises going on, and I moan and groan about that because I'm like, why can't we actually get what we should be getting from this film, which is a whole lot of skin and a whole lot of actual acts that are to happen, and not just hide away in some staircase or to hide it away from some chair. Because eventually that happens right after Joel and Lana meet, after the whole blowing of the clothes happens. And so this movie is to end up quite tame, sadly enough, but if anything, also, I could probably go on and give people another of Umber suggestions of which that could probably go on and have a lot more skin in it in the game if that's really what you're looking for as far as a film. Or really, if you probably just go on and thumb through a lot of the things that I've been reviewing lately, you'll probably find something. So, regardless of the less amount of tamed skin we have in this film, I am to actually enjoy the adventure of this movie. Yeah, that goes on and very much sounds like you going on into a Playboy and reading the articles, but still. I like the adventure of this film. So what is this story about? We come to find that Joel, that I share the same real life name with, Joel is to inevitably find that his parents are to take a vacation from the house for quite a bit of time. And so Joel, in turn, is to think, oh my god, I had the house to myself. Man, I'm going to be the most creative person that has ever lived, and just thrust into my dress shirt and blare my rock and roll music while dancing all over the furniture and what have you, which is to be the most iconic scene that comes from this film that I think still to this day people are trying to replicate. People are trying to uh in a in an interesting way just honor this film. And so after we come to find that Joel has blown his creative load way too quickly, we then have Joel that meets up with Miles, the guy who I know from Revenge of the Nerds, who plays Booger. Uh, I love that character. He was fun. And so Miles goes on and hands Joel these advertisements, not for these hot singles, but for this escort service that is to be putting out ads. Joel goes on to have Miles, as a joke, call up this one person known as Jackie, and then Joel is to be forced to hear his doorbell ring and need to answer it and meet up with Jackie. Come to find out, Joel is to then be a nice guy and tell Jackie that he does not require Jackie's services because it was all done under a joke. But Joel is seemingly willing to pay the fees of which for Jackie to have gone on and traveled and what have you. So Jackie in turn looks at this nice gesture and is to consider Joel getting this name and phone number of a girl who is seemingly most requested around town. So Joel is consistently having these fantasies of babysitter and wanting to do the do within her. So Joel, because again, he has completely run out of creativity, is to then seek finally Miles's ads and start to scribble through them, but then finds the envelope of name of Lana, which I'll go on, I'll have to pronounce it every single time I have to say this person's name that way, because I will keep having to want to say Lana because it sounds better. But anyways, so Joel goes on to meet up with Lana, who breaks into his home, sneaks into his house, and then ends up calling him Ralph because Joel is to call this girl up and give a fake name while he's wearing this weird catcher's mask. It's strange. The baseball catcher's mask. I don't know why, but he's wearing it. So Joel inevitably plows this woman as much as he can, and then all of a sudden, after he has to pay up this $300 of which that he doesn't have on him because they already paid $75 to Jackie, Joel comes to find that it seems that there is to now be this egg that goes missing, this glass-looking egg. And man, by the end of this tale, we come to find that Joel is going to just get egg on his face for how hard he had to work to reobtain this egg, as well as eventually him reobtaining stuff to fix his Porsche's his parents' Porsche car, his home's entire furniture and what have you, and continuing to haggle with Lana for this egg for so long, even when a gun is to be wielded by his face. Yeah, Joel goes on to inevitably risk life and limb for this stupid egg, for him to go on and really just need, by the end of the film, to have his heart sink And this egg, I guess, is just no longer good enough for his parents now, is it? What kind of just was that by the end of the movie? And so there are interesting aspects of this film of which that I really enjoyed, where we kind of have our characters that just kind of throw their hands up in the air and just say, "What the F?" or "What the heck?" It's time for you to take chances. And man, when Joel takes chances, yeah, it pretty much derails his whole entire life. But by the end of it, Joel looks at that he's made $8,000 in one night, and that Joel can go on and probably have a girlfriend by the end of this, and really go on and decide, instead of having Princeton to be a thing he goes to college to, that University of Illinois could be just good enough. But if anything, things do very much work out for Joel in the end, because Princeton needs a guy like Joel. So, with that said, I think it's about that time to just go into just scene for scene, blow for blow of this movie. Let me know in the comments below what is be your most fascinating skin film, because at some point I may go on and check it out myself. There is always a temptation to review movies like Society, for how strange that is, but I'm trying to avoid ticking people off, because people might just find that movie to be a little bit too weird and off-putting. There was to go on and be other things of which that I will go on and talk about wanting to do future reviews of. Like, I wanted to go on and I wanted to review stuff like the Harrison Ford movie The Fugitive, for how impactful it was on Tubi, but now that it's not there, I'm still just kind of itching to cover that movie for some estranged reason. I don't know. I have a feeling or a sense about it, and I just can't let that go. Uh, there is also to be other action-packed movies like 48 Hours, because I think it's still on Netflix, and it looks like just a fun thromp of a film from what I remember bits and pieces about it. I also am to kind of be interested in covering stuff like the Captain America 1990 film, which really I'm sure a lot of people will not care enough about, or probably think that there's not much there in that film. But I find it to just be like, like this could be something interesting. Uh, Other than that, there's a lot of things I've promised and I've said and I've ultimately done at some point in the past. So anything that just kind of comes to mind will be entwined for me to say it now, and then maybe it'll be actually done in the future. With that said, uh, I think there could be a lot of movies that could be like no-brainers to still review on the channel that I'm still not getting to. But also, stuff like Fatal Attractions, Basic Instincts, I don't really think go anywhere for this channel. And I'm sure that could be like, man, that should be the go-tos. There was a Demi Moore, Michael Douglas film, I think it was that actor's name, called Disclosure, where I was also kind of tempted in covering that. I don't know. Either way, I have an endless just like library of stuff in my brain noggin that just kind of pop in there from time to time, and I just don't know why I know all this shit, but I somehow do. So, with that said, I hope that eventually all of this will eventually explode and just spew out, and eventually be a thing that is going to end up being reviewed. Because, man, this noggin is so full. So, I mean, chock to the block full, to where, like, yesterday I had a really horrible migraine. But anyways, It's about that time to go in for scene, blow for blow, because it is, spoiler time, spoiler time. It's about that time we're going to spoil this movie. Going into more detail of which that you probably don't really care about, but at the end of the day, I can say that I can at least sleep at night because I'm going on and covering every single aspect of this movie. Maybe there might be some funny commentary, but most of it will probably just be me trying to rush through this whole entire thing. Because inevitably, when I was to try to have done this earlier in this day, at some point I just had an issue with where I was to kind of keep notes for this film because there was a technical difficulty. So I hope that this time around I can go on and be able to just get this all out here and it works and I can just be done. So I'm happy that I can cover this movie regardless of what it probably doesn't really do number wise. I'll be surprised if this one actually does well. Rambo, First Blood Part 2 is surprisingly doing great numbers. I am very much grateful. I hope I'll go on and I will find more stuff like that where it just continues to build on the channel. But I am not a perfect, definitely YouTuber that can find a thing called momentum. Because if anything, I kind of sabotage myself or I just make I get lucky more than I do really just strategically smart on here. So, if anyways, I hope that I can go on and continue to find things that still interest people. So, with that said, let's get into this film. Let's try to bash this all out because I think it's about that time. So, in the beginning of this film, we have a scene that immediately irks me. And spoilers, everybody, because I'm breaking this down. So, I honestly don't get in the very beginning of this film why there is to be the title screen and have the background just be this city background when it makes no sense. If anything, obviously, Joel's character is kind of living in suburbia or in kind of like this neighborhood. Why not go on and use the neighborhood as an intro thing because that makes the most sense? They could kind of build through showing all these houses to then make their way to Joel's house, and then we can start the movie off that way. Or you could start to where you're consistently just panning, 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 and then you get to Joel and he's on this bike or he's just standing there, and then you cut to him so closely like they do in the beginning of this film anyways. So because if anything, this movie very much starts off weird with all of a sudden they have this like city background, and then the first thing you see is just Tom Cruise's just face just smashed into the screen, and then you're like, wow, a little close there, Tom. Anyways, so, but I guess it's just the kind of like, whoa, that you're kind of going on at the beginning of the film. So, Joel is to mention about how he always has the same dream, where he's on this bike making his way to his strange neighbor house. It doesn't seem that this neighbor is to have any alarms of any kind, or they seemingly don't have anybody thrusting a gun in his face, yelling burglar, or it seems that no one seems to be oddly home within this neighbor's house. But also, why is it that no one goes on and locks the door within this home? It's strange. Anyways, so Tom thrusts his way throughout this house and to look about how there is a textbook and there is to be some pieces of paper and a pair of glasses. Joel goes on to make his way up the stairs and inevitably finds this bathroom because I guess if he doesn't really have to look hard enough, he can just go on and just find a bathroom in a home so easily, which is strange to me. So, Joel opens this bathroom door, and it seems that the conversation starts off kind of weird because this girl who has no name is to really be going on and answering Joel as if she is to have made her way to her front door and there's like a mailman or something there that she has to sign for, or she has to do, like, that's kind of the interaction here, which sounds so strange. It seems that the girl in the shower is to not be at all, like, to have been shocked by this, is to try to cover herself up. She doesn't give a crap. So this girl goes on and looks at Joel and is like, well, hey, I'm showering. And Joel is to go on and ask, well, do you want me to go? And she's like, no, I want you to wash my back. Then all of a sudden, within the scene, Joel oddly transitions to school. And in all honesty, there are times where I probably have dreams where honestly I'm back in school all over again. And like, that is to go on and be just so weird to me, that like I think a lot of us just dream of like either school because maybe it was like a nightmare environment for you, or like past jobs that were a nightmare to work, which I have that happen also. Um, yeah, like I guess in our weird brain, like that is to be like a kind of thing that just kind of when we're sleeping that occurs. Anyways, so Joel is to be now in school, and he realizes that he has a very short time period to finish some test, and it's multiple choice. And if he doesn't go on and pass this test, he will fail the midterm, or he will fail the class. So while Joel is going on and speaking of this dream around this poker table with Barry, Miles, and I think Glenn, and some other rando guy that I don't know the name of, because heaven forbid I really combed through this IMDb very well. So after Joel delivers this dream sequence, and I can't help but think that this scene feels very much like the 40-Year-Old Virgin, where they're around the table and they start to talk about their adventures with being with another woman, or being in a bedroom like scenario of seduction. So and Joel goes on and or Joel Steve Carell's character kind of makes up this whole story that these guys can't really believe, and they're like, so you've never done it, right? And he's like, really? How is it you haven't done it yet? But anyways, so back to Risky Business. So as Joel says this story, the guys go on and they come up with their own conclusion of what was to have happened with the whole babysitter in the shower thing. That Joel ran off and went to his home and just whacked it. But everybody laughs after going on and thinking of that idea. But then Miles comes up with an even better idea. I think Barry came up with the first one. Miles comes up with the second one, where Miles says, like, well, yeah, I think you start off in the dream where you're riding this bike, and you rode your bike home and you whacked off. So I guess luckily whacking off isn't exactly a censored word, so I can say that all I want. I didn't think about that until now. Man, I really could have gone on and I really could have saved myself a number of times of having to think of words of beef jerking it, or beef stroganoff, or other kinds of things, when I could have just said whacking it. Because really, freaking YouTube doesn't know what whacking it really means. That's great. I'll hope that I'll remember that forever. Thank you, YouTube, for helping me figure out how I can go on and more PC myself. Because I love to PC myself all the time, every afternoon. Anyways, so uh, so Joel and Miles cut away here, and the two of them are kind of talking about their lives, about how uh, Joel knows Miles is going to Harvard and that he has his life set, and and they're questioning whether or not that they should make mistakes to jeopardize their future. And Miles goes on and gives Joel this chestnut of, like, you know what? Every once in a while, you have to just kind of throw things into the air and just say, what the fuck? It gives you freedom, it gives you an opportunity, and opportunities make your future. So, Miles goes on to say to Joel, it's like, well, hey, yeah, your folks are leaving town tomorrow, right? And Joel's like, well, yeah. You have, like, the place to yourself, right? Yeah. Well, hey, what the fuck? If you can't say it, you can't do it. So, now we cut to Joel, who is to obviously go on and be out of frame talking to his parents, which I find this scene to kind of be so fascinating. To where I'm like, what was the choice of why Tom was not actually in the frame but is talking to his parents? This scene is honestly really cool. Like, I like how we're kind of being Joel in a way. I like this idea because also I think so many games would go on and video games would do this same idea. But yeah, I think it's kind of cool that we're kind of seeing things through Joel's eyes. I wish movies would kind of do that a little bit more. Um, but also, like, if a guy like Tom Cruise is in your movie, like, why take him out of frame? And but yeah, like, I don't know what the decision making was to have been right there, but I think it's a cool cosmetic choice. So, as Joel speaks to his parents, which in the IMDb they just say that it's Joel's mother and father. So, whenever I say mom and dad in this review, you'll probably know that it's Joel's mother and dad, uh, or mom and pa, as I like to go on and probably make a joking pronouncing of. So, back to the movie here. Joel goes on and speaks with his mother, and we come to find out that his SAT score is around like 500 and some. And Joel's mother is to say to him, it's like, well, hey, yeah, you can take the SATs again, right? So that we can get that at least a little bit higher, maybe around 700, something like that. Like, come on, Joel, you're going to be smarter than that. So Joel is going to be like, okay, all right, like, I'll try to take the test again. Man, is this going to end up being like the Chris Evans movie Perfect Score, where he's just having nightmares that his score isn't good enough, so they have to, like, crack into this whole thing to try to find a way to ace the SATs, so that way they can go on and just have any college just be hounding them to uh to want their acceptance because this huge SAT score. Anyways, so it kind of feels like stealing the Declaration of Independence. It's kind of like a weird, wacky thing to try to accomplish. But if anything, they do it in the perfect score. So, back with this film. Joel goes on to speak with his father as he's wanting to pull him aside. So, Joel follows his father into this living room where Joel's dad is to complain about how his equalizer, which is to be like a piece of stereo equipment, is to not be how he remembers it being, and then complains to Joel, it's like, hey, don't go on and mess with this, it's very valuable to me. And I'm like, who gives a shit about an equalizer? But, like, I get it that maybe Joel's dad just likes his stereo system to not be messed with. I get it. Like, that is to go on and just be like, well, yeah, like, I don't want somebody to go through my room and just rummage through all my shit to where I can't find anything anymore. Because at least I always know where everything is. Uh, anyways, so here's where we see the egg, the crystal looking egg, so early in this film, because we'll have to go on and we'll have to really care how important this thing is to his parents and to Joel within this entire film. It'll be the focus piece of this movie. So definitely, this is a key item. So Joel follows his parents to the airport, and they're speaking to him about his Princeton interview. They're going on and saying to him that he should definitely try to figure out ways to talk to this interviewer and talk about how he is to be involved in like these future enterprises, which is basically just an entrepreneurial, if I'm even saying that right. Like, he's going on and he's trying to make his own business and trying to make money off of it, even in high school, which I had gone on and taken a class like that, but I never really understood the whole like math of it all. Like, because again, I always had problems with math in high school. So really, when I was to go on and find out that that entrepreneurial class took a lot of math, I was like, I can't figure this out. Like, I don't get like what a small business could really be. Like, it was a fun idea to do a class on, but also it was kind of just something so I can get credit in, so I could just pass high school. Like, I didn't really understand it whatsoever. Like, it's kind of in one ear after the other after I'm done with it. Uh, but it was just kind of a fun experiment to just try, and also it leads to me understanding some of this stuff now as I'm talking to you, at least. Uh, at least I was to try as much as possible to give myself as much variety in high school as I could. Anyways, so as they make it onto the escalator, his parents tell Joel about how much money they've left for him. And it's kind of funny when Joel calls his mother later. Joel's mom asks, like, well, hey, how's the money situation going? And Joel says, like, well, yeah, like, the money is kind of going a little bit faster than I thought, but I'm trying to do better. So, uh, if anything, let's cut through a lot of this, because I know it's not as exciting a part of the car, or part of the movie. Joel's parents goes on and talks about like which car for Joel to use, and obviously Joel is gonna take on the Porsche, even though I think the Porsche is to be his father's car. Because when Joel wrecks the Porsche, Miles asks Joel, "Does your father have a gun?" So yeah, it's his father's car. But in this situation, Joel's mother tells him that, hey, yeah, take my car, which of course Joel doesn't because he likes taking the Porsche out. So Joel's mom tells him he trusts him, and they kiss him goodbye, and then we finally see Joel that is kind of just waving his parents away. So Joel goes on to get this TV dinner, which he has to suck down like a popsicle. It's hilarious. Because, yeah, TV dinners most of the time are pretty crap. I honestly get a healthy choice meal that has rice and broccoli in it, and I absolutely love it. Like, I go on and I have it just a lot of times. because it's a quick meal, and also it's like meat, broccoli, and rice. It's basically your traditional bodybuilder uh, diet meal. But yeah, there are some times when uh, there is to be getting of other TV dinners that are just freaking awful. But at least it's not this bad where I'm popsicling my meal like it seems that Joel is. But anyways, the funny thing here is Joel goes on and drops this thing of whiskey and then Coke. And I'm like, is that really alcohol? And I look closely. I'm like, yeah, it's whiskey. So he has a little bit of whiskey with his Coke. So now, of course, here's where we get to the iconic scene that everybody's been waiting for if you were to go on and really check out this whole detail of things. So Joel goes on and blares the equalizer, and you know what? In modern day, what I think I would do, I would go on and I would screenshot what the equalizer looked like, and then do whatever I want with it, and then go back and look at the picture and readjust to where it is, so that way your parents would not know any the wiser. Yeah, um, that would be a smart way if it was a modern day film. So Joel goes on and is to be wearing either a pink or white dress shirt. Hence me kind of being worried that I got the color wrong uh, when I decided to do a thumbnail on this. But maybe that'll change. I don't know. So Joel goes on and slides into the room and eventually is to be belting out with what looks like some award or statue or something. Uh, Old time rock and roll, which doesn't seem like a song that you could really dance to, but for some odd reason, Joel is having a good old time with it. So Joel gets on to transitioning his award or statue, throws it on one of the couches or love seats, grabs this fire poker from the fireplace, and straddles it and treats that as either a guitar or microphone, not sure which. And Joel continues to kind of do these like baseball like slides onto the ground, goes on and gets rid of the fire poker and jumps over the couch. And the only thing that I think is missing with this scene is, like, obviously we would think that a scene like this would probably be done with, honestly, Joel probably being more naked here because there's nobody home. Kind of like when uh, we'd find Rachel in the show Friends, who's like all by herself, so she decides to get completely naked in the house, and then finds out that she regrets that decision when somebody sees her in the nude. But anyways, so Joel then goes on to be around his friends at what looks like some dining establishment. So they go on and they talk about somebody's SAT scores, and they also talk about how certain careers have a certain price tag of money that they can earn with them. Joel is to go on and start asking everybody, does all anybody care about just getting more money? And Joel is saying that he just wants to help his fellow mankind, which is a good sentiment. But yeah, everyone else is to kind of turn around and just be like, well, yeah, we all just want more money. So Joel is to now go on and make it into his business class, and there's just a lot of gibberish about free enterprising and a lot of other things here. So both Joel and Barry are talking to one another, and eventually we'll come to find that the two of them will need to go to Joel's house and kind of work on their business project. So, as we go on here, both Joel and Barry are at Joel's house, and there is to be a knock at the door, and Glenn is to be there. Glenn goes on and asks Joel, considering there's nobody of parents home at Joel's house, if Glenn could go on and be able to use a room in his house, so that way the two of them, both Glenn and his girlfriend, could obviously have sex. Joel is going to be hesitant at first, but then it's like, well, since Glenn is to be my good friend, I can't say no to him. So Joel goes on to tell Glenn, yeah, like, I'll let you go on, and I'll let you go into my room and be able to use it. I would have gone on and said, hey, I'll let you use my room if you go on, you clean my sheets afterwards. That seems like a fair deal, right? Because I'm not going to get any kind of sploosh or any kind of juices afterwards. When I get into the bed and I realize that this thing is effing soaked. Yeah, I don't want any backsplash, if you know what I'm saying. But anyways, so the funniest part of this movie is coming up, because Joel is going on and yelling out to Glenn that, hey, if you leave the house, lock the door behind you. And Glenn doesn't answer. And so Joel says, hey, give me 2 moans if you are to hear me. And so shortly thereafter that, there's 2, and Joel says, thank you. And then he walks out. That is to be the most hilarious thing in this movie. Plus, also in the beginning scene, with the buildings, there is also to be this like weird, strange moaning that's going on, and the more moaning that kind of goes into this film, the more just irked I get about that, because I'm just like, we should be seeing this. We should be like, it's just a freaking tease, and it's just so awful. But it's funny, but it's still awful. Anyways, so Joel and Barry are trying to do their business uh business classwork, and so Barry is going on and talking about this thing where he's hitting this button, and it's all about this like call service, which is actually pretty smart. So Barry goes on to have figured out how to do this like whole call waiting thing, which, yeah, that's actually a pretty bright idea. So as Barry and Joel are talking about this whole call waiting thing, there is more and more moans and groans and thriving and thrusting that is going on in the background. It gets to the point where Joel and Barry just can't take the sound anymore, because considering they're not getting a slice of that pie of funky butt loving, that they are to just get so utterly frustrated and just want to get out to hopefully wait for them to finish up there in Joel's room. So as Joel and Barry leave, they make their way into his father's Porsche. And this is a really cool scene. Plus, also kind of reminds me of 16 Candles, where uh, where Farmer Ted or whoever, they go on and they take the dad's car, and there's to be the girl that's drunk with inside the car. It's kind of very reminiscent to all of the 80s movies or whatever that we know and love. So As they drive along, uh, Barry talks about how Glenn is to be a guy that I think gets around. Because a lot of this dialogue is to kind of be like, what exactly is he saying here? I was trying to figure it out. So Barry is talking about how he's to have found that Glenn had been buffing somebody else, but then also was to be effing some other person. And Joel then turns to Barry. It's like, you do know that buffing and ing are the same thing, right? And Barry's like, wait a minute, what? It's the same thing? And he's like, yeah, it's the same thing. And so Barry's like, oh my God. Oh, I thought it was like bases, like first base, second base. No, it's the same thing. And Joel's like, oh, okay. So the two of them pass by a number of women that is obviously admiring Joel for his Porsche and not that he looks good. Sadly enough, I'm sure Tom Cruise is to be a good looking man, but still, the Porsche is to be a much more profound ooh ah kind of thing going on here. So as Joel and Barry pass by, they're mentioning about how sublime these women's chests are. They say something else here, but I'm paraphrasing to try to avoid cussing as much as I'd like to within this thing. And yes, stuff like a woman's honkers is to probably be a cuss. Maybe, probably, I'm not sure. Anyways, so we go on to have Barry and Joel, who are in their Porsche, and they all of a sudden come to find that someone wants to race them. And so the guy starts revving his engine next to the Porsche, and eventually the car peels off, and Gary turns to Joel. It's like, get him. And they blare off and they beat these people quite so easily. So now we transition with Joel and Miles, and here is, of course, where again, Joel is to blow his creative load. And so Miles comes in with these advertisements for a little late night escort activity. So, yeah, for a movie that has escorts and brothels, again, this movie used to be pretty tame, but in the same vein, I go on and I say, well, at least it's something. At least it's to go on and give you some kind of delicious nourishment of adventure and story, and then a little bit of skin somewhere slicing in there. Movies can't all be Porky's now, can it? Porky's? What the fuck? Like, why do you keep throwing in all these movie references? I don't know. I'm just, that's how my brain works. Anyways, so Joel is going on and speaking with Miles, and of course, here is the scene where Miles is to mention about the newspaper advertisements for the escort service. So Joel eventually becomes annoyed the more that Miles starts reading off all of these newspaper articles. And it's funny, as Joel starts to run off, Miles chases after him and continues to say the advertisements even louder to where I'm sure the neighborhood probably can hear him going on and doing all these weird, goofy stories. So Joel and Miles make their way inside the house, and Miles is asking Joel, like, you gotta do this, right? Like, you gotta call these women. You have to. And Joel is saying, like, well, hey, if you really want to call these women that bad, call them yourself. So Miles then finally goes on, rips the phone, and is to make a phone call to a person named Jackie. I say that because the person that is to be Jackie, let's be honest here, Jackie is to give the appearance of a man, but is dressed as a woman. And, like, in more modern time, that is completely okay and accepted. And I think that Jackie's character is actually really fun for this piece. But also, I'm to go on and, like, really just say that, like, this character is to look in this manner even though honestly I am to be a person that has to be really more open-minded than probably other people. And then to just kind of keep skirting around um, that I'm just calling Jackie as a person, what have you, which is to go on and be yes that Jackie is a person. Yeah. Um, because for me, it's like I treat everybody like a human being. So, uh, so Miles goes on and calls up Jackie and ends up saying that his name is Joel and that he mentions Joel's address. And Joel then jumps from his table to try to race after Miles, and Miles hangs up before Joel can do anything. Joel then goes on to speak to Miles to say, "Hey, give me the phone number of Jackie so that way I can call Jackie back." And Miles says there is no number. And Joel is like, "What are you talking about?" Miles goes on and rips the phone number from the advertisement and eats it and then walks away. So now we cut to Joel just kind of doing these oddball chores, watering the plants like his father wanted, and taking out the garbage. Because, yeah, that always has to get done. So, Joel is going on and doing his homework, and then all of a sudden there's a taxi that gives a good old pause by the front of his house. High heels and pink leggings are to be coming out of this taxi, and all of a sudden there is to be a knock at the door. Joel goes on to open the door, and Jackie is to mention how she is waiting for a guy named Joel. Joel pretends that he's not Joel and says that Joel is to be kind of out or waiting for him or something. So, because I guess Joel doesn't find Jackie attractive, sadly enough, Joel goes on and inevitably calls Miles and says that Miles needs to appear to pretend that he's Joel to answer to the joke that he had pulled. Miles is to go on and say that he's going to play poker and he wants nothing to do with what he had done to Joel. So, if anything, Joel is now forced to face the music. So, Joel finally goes on to have Jackie come into his house, and Joel tells Jackie the whole truth, that this was done as a joke, that if anything, um, Joel is at least willing to handle Jackie's travel, and Jackie goes on like, "Okay, well, I'm going to need $75." Joel is like, "Okay, fair enough." So also, like, Joel lets Jackie in and kind of lets Jackie uh have a drink, treats her nicely, or treats Jackie nicely. My apologies. So uh so Jackie is fine that Joel was to kind of be very honest and very much be kind. So Jackie says, "Yeah, I can understand that kind of doing this service, that it's like trying to find like the perfect car to buy, that you want to kind of test the suspension or see how well it runs and da da da. So you want to go on and you want to know what you're buying." So here's where Jackie goes on and hands Joel this envelope that has the name of Lana and her phone number, and says that this is to be the kind of the most requested or the most recommended uh, woman that it seems that everybody is kind of going enamored about throughout town. So, and if anything, for a boy like Joel, who's kind of very new to this, if anything, Lana would be a good fit for him. So, Joel then takes a really cold shower because, if anything, Joel isn't exactly going on and getting the laid tonight. So, Joel then goes on to, and this scene also kind of feels like the 40-year-old virgin, where Steve Carell is in his bed and he's starting to whack off, and all of a sudden in his brain he is to be thinking about uh, blonde women that are in the buff, and well, buff because naked, but buff because of how just the body is all great. So, and then Steve Carell has a problem just even doing that because the woman is to just be like teasing him and haunting him. So, anyways, I think at some point in Joel's imagination, Joel is to be again with this babysitter on this table getting intimate. And you would honestly think that the way this movie would be written would have Joel have this one dream girl, and that Lana completely and utterly fits that bill of hair color and everything. And I think that would probably be too like convenient for this movie, but like I think that it would make a lot of sense if this movie was kind of to be written that way, because if Joel is fantasizing about this girl anyways, to have this girl that kind of perfectly fits it would make a lot of sense. Anyways, so here's where Joel and babysitter are on this table going through the throes of what looks like passion, and then all of a sudden there's to be this cop car that woos into the part of the house, and we have this what looks like detective on this megahorn going on and saying, no one needs to get hurt, and this and that. And then all of a sudden, we see quickly both Joel's mother and father grab the megaphone, and Joel's mother just tells him, "Hey, just get off the babysitter. Don't throw your life away, son." What is this, like Mel Gibson from The Signing? We got your friends in the paddy wagon. All of a sudden, a guy known as Kessler comes into frame, rips away the megaphone, and calls Joel a punk. And Joel is like, "Who the heck is that?" And the babysitter says that it's her father. And it's like, "Oh, all right, your father." So Joel, I guess, wakes up from his haunting dream, or him going on and just having his thoughts sabotaged here. So Joel rips to the newspaper and starts going through the ads and starts doodling on them and scribbling through them, inevitably to only find the envelope that has Lana's name on it and phone number. So we then cut to Joel, who eventually gets full on catcher's mask from baseball, the catcher mask, and he goes on to call up Lana. So Joel mentions to Lana that his name is Ralph, and that he is to mention what his exact address is, and he goes on to ask her if she's free tonight. I can't help but look at this scene and to also be thinking of the Hugh Jackman, Ewan McGregor movie Deception, where Ewan McGregor goes on to call up or get called with these girls asking him if he's free tonight, and then he meets up with these women, and then he sleeps with them. And if anything, I think that this is a way more interesting piece than this movie ends up being. But and it kind of feels very similar to this film in so many ways. So check out the movie Deception, because if anything, it'll be worth your while. So after Joel goes on and makes this phone call, we then have Joel that is to go into the bathroom and shave himself, get all this nice bit of clothing, and then eventually fall asleep by his couch. There is to be what looks like, I guess, a knock at the door or a doorbell ring, and no one answers because Joel has fallen asleep. So Lana goes on to decide to break into Joel's house, because I guess that's the smart thing to do. Yeah. Because I guess Joel has gone on to burglarize a neighbor in his dreams. So if anything, Lana should go on and break into Joel's house and eventually steal his egg later on in the film. Because burglar meets burglar. So Lana goes on to make her way through the home and then meets up with Joel, calling him Ralph, and asks him if he's ready for her. Joel then goes on to immediately make his way ever so close to Lana and is to have her dress kind of meet up to her shoulders, and he gets behind her, and all of a sudden this door busts open and the gust of wind starts to blow Lana's dress kind of up and down. And so then we get to the staircase scene. We get to a chair scene that next to a TV as they're going on and thrusting it out. So we then cut to the following morning. Joel is to go on and find out that Lana has made breakfast for him. So Lana talks to Joel about how this house is to be so nice, and Joel's like, yeah, it's my parents. Because as they start talking about the numbers of things, yeah, Joel doesn't know any of that because it's his parents' home. So Joel finally admits that his name isn't really Ralph in this film, which is great because I'd hate to go on through a good chunk rest of this film and have this girl keep calling this guy Ralph, because if anything, I would much rather find it more interesting to have him to be called Joel, because I share the same real life name. So I'm living vicariously through another guy that actually I have the same name of. I'm sorry, I hate to break it to everybody. Yeah, my name isn't actually to be San, because feasibly, I wanted to find a name that sounded very much more attractive than what my name is, because it's honestly very boring. So, so here is finally where Lana talks about her payment of $300. Joel, it seems, obviously doesn't have that kind of money just laying around. Plus, also, he didn't know how much this would actually cost him. So, Joel is to say, it's like, well, hey, I don't have this money on me. Can I send it to you? And Lana's like, send it to me? I'm not going to trust that you're going to send this to me, and I'm going to trust that you're going to do that. And Joel's like, well, I don't have the money on me right now. This whole scene inevitably gets redone later on, and I love it. Because eventually things are to kind of switch places, and Lana is to be the one that is to be paying Joel by the end of the piece in pretend. And Joel goes on to say, it's like, well, like, how are you going to pay for my services? And Lana says, like, well, by check. And Joel's like, by check? No! Like, I can't trust that you're going to pay me by check. And they have this whole thing all over again, and it's hilarious. And it's actually pretty creative that they changed things up from the first time that they have met, to where it's not line for line like the thing that they were doing before, which is here, which is now. So So Joel mentions about how he has a bond, and because right now all he has on him is $50. So Lana trusts that Joel is going to go on and get to this bond and pay her. And so Joel leaves to make his way to the bank to get to this bond. And then when he comes back to the home, he finds that Lana is now gone. Joel starts to look around the house and is to find the glass egg or the crystal egg missing. Joel is to go on and talk to Miles about what had all happened. And Joel is now upset because that glass egg was a lot more than $300. And it's funny because then by the end of the film, when Joel is to be paying for the crystal egg again, or the glass egg, that even Guido goes on to say that it's like, well, yeah, like if you pay me $300, then you'll get this egg. But if anything, it comes off as Joel needing to lend Guido $300 at some point, which never comes up again within the film because, of course, it doesn't. So, anyways, back to the movie here. So, Joe talks to Miles about what the heck they're supposed to do now. And so Joel is hoping that Miles is going to help him. And Miles is like, dude, I have trig midterms tomorrow. Like, I can't help you. Like, I gotta study. So Joel is saying to Miles, like, well, hey, what about the whole what the thing? Like, you're the reason why I got into this whole mess. And Joel is asking Miles, like, well, yeah, what about that whole what the thing? Was that whole, like, BS or what was it? And Miles is like, well, yeah, it was all BS. So Joel finally asks Miles, are you coming or what? So now they are to make their way into this what looks like, I guess, a hotel building, because Joel was to have called up Jackie, and Jackie had mentioned that Lana ends up residing within this area. So if anything, Joel is to try to figure out that this would be where Lana is to actually be, so just wait for her to appear somewhere. So Miles is talking about a price of hot chocolate, and so Joel finally goes on and sees Lana, and he waves his hand at her like, haha, like, I'm here, like, we need to talk about this egg, with a wave. So Lana is talking to some guy that we don't see with her after the fact. But anyways, so Lana and Guy just pass by, and so, like, okay, so what do we do now? So Joel and Miles start to walk off, and they're like, well, I guess we just need to keep coming here and hoping that she'll talk to us at some point. All of a sudden, Lana comes running to Joel and asks if he could drop her off somewhere. Joel finds this to be really weird, and it's like, sure, I'll get you in my car if we go on and we get my egg, because that's what he is to go on bargain here. Because Lana says, hey, can you do me a favor? And Joel looks at Lana like, do you a favor? So they keep arguing back and forth if Lana can get this lift. And Joel is like, well, I'll give you this lift if you give me my egg back. They keep bickering back and forth, and all of a sudden, here is where Guido appears, and he starts yelling. Eventually, Joel is to ask Lana who Guido is, and she says it's her manager, which he kind of lies because it's really her pimp. But technically, I guess manager and pimp, it's the same thing. So the more and more they keep arguing, Guido is to be thrusting a gun by the window and is clicking the gun on the window. So everybody is going on and forcing Miles to start the car, and Lana agrees to whatever Joel wants for them to get out of there. Which still, after they go on, and after Joel does do this thing for Lana, he still does not get the egg back right away. Because of course he doesn't. Because I think Lana is using every single thing that she can as a bargaining chip, which is still this egg, to get everything that she wants. And it's to actually just be a really smart play here. So, but getting into what eventually becomes this car chase. So, they go and have this Porsche start driving off here. And Joel introduces Miles to Lana, and Lana asks Miles if he likes excitement. He's like, I love it. And the more and more we start to find that Miles in this car chase is eventually mentioning how, like, I'm going to throw up. I'm going to throw up on you, Joel. And I absolutely love it. Just the building of, like, is Miles going to hurl or not is just funny. Because Miles is just in horrible strays here. So, and it's just good comedy. So, the further along they drive here, we find that Guido is to be behind them in his car, chasing after them. Lana pokes her head out and starts bickering at Guido to say how he's such a big man and this and that. So the more Joe realizes that this guy is stalking and following him, the more that he drives faster, the more that he tries to outmaneuver this other car, and eventually Joel does become successful, and at some point when Guido meets up with him later, it's like, hey, you were the guy I chased after last night. You're driving pretty crazy. Yeah, you're a young kid, but you're like, I guess you're stupid. But if anything, by the end of this chase, we have Joel that turns to Lana and says, Porsche, there is no substitute, which I kind of liked. And then Miles tells Joel to go himself or something. He says, you. So we now cut to Joel's parents that I think are getting a answering machine. So they give him a message. Or no, wait. No, Joel had gotten the phone. My bad. I see that in the scene here. So this is a scene where Joel's parents are going on and telling him exactly when they should be arriving, and for Joel to make a note of it. Joel pretends that he's getting pen and paper and writing it down, but if anything, he's trying to memorize it. Which, in the movie, when supposedly he's going to, I guess, pick them up or something, it seems that his parents are going on and realizing that Joel isn't there, and that they forcibly decide that they need to get a cab. Which of course adds to Joel not knowing exactly when his parents are going to be home. Anyways, so, and here's where the mother goes on and asks him, like, well, hey, how's the money that you have, and like, do you have enough? And Joel is like, well, like, it goes by pretty fast, but if anything, I'm learning. So, uh, So eventually, after they hang up, and Joel asks Lana about Guido and how the reason why they had friction is because Lana had quit being with Leto or Guido, and Lana is going to go on and start her own business, which of course Joel knows quite a bit of because he was just in entrepreneurial classes. So the reason why Lana had gone on to, I think, end up doing uh, work with Guido is because she had hospital bills and she had a weird pain in her chest that, come to find out, was just stress or was just nerves. But for some reason, yeah, bills stacked up pretty high, and I know quite a bit about that in my life. And I still know about that. But anyways, so Lana ended up going on and doing the job with Guido, and then ended up just kind of, I'm sure it just kind of became a thing that she now had to do because the money was probably too good to just ignore. So, plus also eventually some people get into a lifestyle and like just stuff just kind of takes over, and you just always need to just keep doing this job that you just don't want to do. Um, Clearly because hey, you get money, you can get things, and all these things don't really matter, but like it's nice to have them. Even though still you're probably going on and realizing how much money you're not really getting when you're doing these things. Anyways, so because the checks start to shrink and you're going on and just being like, really, like, what am I doing here? Anyways, so Joe finally has to go on and get to a point with Lana where he tells her, hey, I'm going to school and you need to get the F out of here. And he doesn't say that, but I'm paraphrasing. And Lana's like, really? You won't let me stay? And Joel's like, no. Like, like, Joel doesn't trust Lana enough because she's already stolen something. He doesn't want to come back and then basically realize that his entire home, like Michael Keaton does by the end of Pacific Heights, is to lose piping and all kinds of things because she stole everything in the house. Yeah, like in modern day, it's kind of very hard to trust people, but ultimately, like, I don't think anybody would be anybody would not want to try to at least trust somebody. But anyways, so Joel is to find it that there is a honking of the car, and two of the guys, uh, Miles and I think Glenn, are in this car waiting for Joel to pick him up. Joel goes back, or Joel goes to his friend's car and tells him that Lana won't leave. So if anything, they just have to go on without him. So Lana will not budge, and so she basically just tells Joel, go to school, learn something. And also Lana asked Joel, it's like, well, hey, did you like last night, the thing we did? And Joel's like, please don't tell me I need to pay you another $300. And Lana's like, no, like, it's fine. So so I guess if anything, you can call that a because Lana was to have spent the night there, that maybe the cost of effing was to maybe equal out. I don't know, but either way, so Joel is now running like a crazed man to his school and is trying to do his studies. I'm sure that his schoolwork is really just hugely being affected here. Plus, also, like, I don't quite understand by the end of the film the gravity of the situation where when Tom goes on and goes to the nurse to try to get an excuse for his classes, how Miles and his best friends talk about how his school record is basically destroyed, but then he can go on and go to Princeton and everything works out. I'm a little confused about how exactly that makes sense in this film. If anything, I would love for somebody to explain what the heck that meant in the movie, because I was just so like, what is going on here? I needed a kind of a another perspective or somebody to help me understand what was going on in that part of the film. Why his record is all of a sudden destroyed, but also like how he could have gone on to Princeton and everything just works out. I yeah, it's just so weird to me. So Lana goes through Joel's house and starts to basically look at the price of everything as if she's going to go on and steal all of it. Which, by the end of the film, Guido does go on and steal all of the furniture. And then by the end of this, I'm like, okay, so why was Lana casing the joint? And Guido steals all the furniture, but then when Joel speaks with Lana by the end of the film and says, "Hey, was everything going on with what you were doing with me? Was it all a setup?" And Lana says no. Was Lana just saying that just to tell Joe what he wanted to hear? Because this scene just kind of feels um to be something that feels kind of otherwise, that like Lana was working with Guido because she does this scene here. If anything, Guido going on and stealing all the furniture might have just been inevitable anyways, but still. I don't know. I'm just a little bit like, why does this scene take place? But moving on. So, Joel is now with Miles in this wrestling class. Uh, and so Joel is asking Miles who exactly he's told about the whole Lana thing. And Miles to mention that he talked to Barry about it, and I think he mentioned it to Glenn. And so Joel is telling Miles, okay, don't tell anyone else, as he goes on and does this, what looks like fireman's carry, or he goes on and does this kind of like just wrestling move where he goes on and kind of flips Miles here. So, which I can completely buy that Tom is to do like wrestling and all kinds of things. Plus, also like he does Tom Cruise all the right moves where he's a football player. Like I can completely buy uh, Tom being an athlete, regardless of how skinny he is, regardless of just the way his frame is. Um, because clearly, like I think he could, like when you look at the Mission Impossible movies, like you completely can buy that he's like this huge spy, and yeah, like because this guy is ridiculously athletic. So at this point, so Lana is to grab this thing of keys, and Joel is just waiting for the clock to tick down so that way class could be over. The school bell rings, and so Joel goes on to make his way back to Miles. I think there's another scene where supposedly Lana was to have gone on and gone to this train tracks, and I'm not quite sure what that scene was. Was there a temptation for Lana to leave everything behind, or was Lana just going on and prepping for something? I'm not quite sure. Either way, the scene is there. So, Joel makes his way back to Miles at his own home, and it seems that Glenn is putting the moves on somebody in Joel's house. So Joel finds out that Glenn went inside the house, and Joel is to meet up with Glenn and ask him, "You didn't sleep with her, did you?" And Glenn is like, "No, I didn't. If anything, I slept with Vicky." And Joel is like, "Vicky?" So, and I was lucky to remember who this person was, because I was like, okay, like, who is this person's name? I don't remember. But anyways, so Vicky appears. So Lana had gone on, I guess, to take this train to meet up with Vicky to bring Vicky into her own incorporation, so that way they can go on and inevitably find that they could have a really good money making scheme going on here once uh, once Lana goes on and brings in more girls. So Lana goes on and tells Joel about how all of these guys that are to be around here are to probably be having bonds and have money. So Lana mentions about how they could make a really good killing within this neighborhood with how all these kids all have bonds and then could make the payments for sleeping with these girls. So Lana is saying that this is to be like a really good idea, that they can make a lot of money even in one night. So Vicky goes on and hands Joel $50, and Joel is like, "What is this?" And Vicky says it's $50. Like, if anything, the house gets money also. So Joel is like, "Okay, all right." So, so Joel at this point is telling both Vicky and both Lana, "Okay, you guys need to go." Like, I don't care about the egg anymore. I want you freaking out of here. Like, if anything, the more and more chaos that is to occur here, uh, the more that Joel is to uh, really be worried about his home and about his life. So he doesn't want to take the risk, so he's booting the two girls out. So Joel is to now go on his bed and to do what looks like chest flies, but if anything, it's chest flies that doesn't quite make sense, because if anything, like, chest flies should be things where you're just kind of like, you're more like, your arm should be at like a curve and you're going in on it, like. But I guess, like, full range of motion, I guess, would be much better if it was like all the way out and then in. So I guess those chest flies are probably better. Uh, but yeah, like, when I didn't have like a bench press and I didn't have much of exercise equipment, I honestly would go on and try to do a bench press on my bed, and eventually mistakes were made. But at least I would learn what to eventually realize that I actually needed a bench press and exercise equipment, and like, I mistakenly did things because I had no money, and I probably really could have hurt myself, like I've gone on to hurt myself anyways. But like, at least I had gone on to eventually want to try to exercise and want to just try to better myself. At least there's that to my life. So so Joel goes on and realizes outside of his window that Lana and Vicky are to be outside talking to Guido. And Lana and Vicky are having this argument with Guido. So Joel then goes on and has to be a gentleman and be the women's knight in shining armor as they're running into the house. Joel goes on and starts talking to Guido and asks, "Can I help you?" And Guido is like, "Yeah, you were the kid that I chased with the car last night, right?" And Guido starts talking about how, like, hey, that was pretty stupid. So Guido is actual, hey, where are the girls? I want to speak to them. And so eventually the girls poke their head out a window and they say that they no longer want to work for Guido. If anything, they're tempted to work with Joel. And Guido is looking at Joel like, hey, like, you're taking my women from me? Like, he kind of gets upset, puffs up his chest. So Guido says, hey, you know what? You're a young kid, you're having fun, and this is the time of your life, right? Because, yeah, like, when you're young, I really think that you need to go on and you need to appreciate the youth you have. Because eventually, the longer and longer your life starts to occur, eventually you'll realize how, like, man, you had it so good when you were younger. You didn't need to have things like a job and all these kind of other things, and like there's so many places to balance and whatever have you, and like and if anything when you're young, like everything like feels to be so easy. Which is strange to kind of look back on it now and be like, yeah, like I never had it so good. Um, but it's always just kind of fun to reminisce. So Guido tells Joel that he's not going to make him come back here, is he? And so Joel goes on with Vicky and Lana, and they enjoy a TV dinner meal together. Is the meal still popsicles? It looks like they're kind of just thumbing through the food and like, what the is this? So Joel at this point is going on and asking Lana, uh, what will it take for Lana to kind of be out of his life at this point? And also to again bring up the mother's egg to remind Lana, hey, I still need this egg. I still want this back. Why haven't you given it to me yet? For how much he's had to go on and deal with. Yeah, like at this point, like Joel is kind of getting concerned that Gunn will be at some point be thrusted in his face because of Guido. So yeah, I think he's probably earned getting that egg back. But anyways, so Joel is to give an addendum to letting the girls stay there as long as they understand that this is going to be temporary, and until they find another place to stay. And so we then have Joel that is cracking open his books and trying to study, and Lana is getting into Joel's bed and trying to seduce him. Here's where Joel starts to talk about schooling and ends up mentioning about his business class where he's making this product. And so Lana is asking Joel, well, do you make a lot of money off of it? And Joel says no. Uh, but he's going on and trying to challenge this other student's company, and it's quite competitive. So Lana asks Joel as if he's ever gotten high, smoked a J. So shortly thereafter that, Lana, Joel, Barry and Vicky all are out, and they're getting ice cream, and they're all smoking a J. And Barry is to be kind of concerned with Joel because he's never smoked weed before. So Barry asks Joel, "Hey, like, are you okay? Like, are you really high?" And Joel's like, "No, I don't think I'm really that high." And then like we start to see that there's ice cream on Joel's nose, and then Joel looks at Barry. He's like, "Yeah, I think I'm really high." And Joel is saying to Barry, "It's like, please help me." Like Barry's like, "Yeah, I'll take care of you, Joel. It's okay. Like you won't have a really bad experience. Like I'll take care of you." So that's nice. So just wait till what happens after this. Like I'm sure if Joel isn't to be really messed up, he will be soon. So Lana and Joel are talking here, and they make their way to this pier, and and the conversation is to kind of be lost by me, and but I think the big thing here is that Lana is talking about the business opportunity that's right in front of them. That Lana is to try to bargain with Joel that if she gets all of her friends together and all of his friends together, that they could make a killing in one night. And it's all about the whole bonds thing. It's basically what I've kind of said before. And uh so Lana is asking Joel about this, and he's like, "You know what? I'll think about it." So we also have Lana that is to talk about her backstory, about how uh because Lana at this point wants to ask Joel if she can be his girlfriend for a couple of days, and then she gets very personal about her family, and was to mention about how her uh, stepfather was abusive to her, and and eventually when Lana kind of is to be kind of honest and kind of let her guard down here, eventually she starts to realize who she's talking to, about how great Joel's life is and how rich his family is and everything like that. So eventually she starts walking away. Joel starts to walk after Lana, and all of a sudden his Porsche car starts rolling away. Joel is to be as much as possible to try and stop this car from moving. He jumps on top of the car, and the Porsche continues to keep rolling no matter what he does. The car gets all the way to the very end of the pier, and Joel is now on top of the hood, and he's like, "Oh my god, it stopped." Okay, I'll just slide away off to the side here, and I'll thank my lucky stars. Oh, the pier breaks, and the car goes kasplooshing into the water. Barry and Vicky, I think, go on and they start running after Joel to see what is the problem. I think at some point here, uh, and then we cut away to uh, Joel bringing his car into this workshop. I think it could be for his school, or it could just be for some place to just discreetly fix this car. And this guy comes in on Joel and asks, like, "Okay, who is the one driving the Porsche?" So Joel makes his way into the nurse's office, and here's where it seems that he almost has a mental breakdown. That Joel tries to hope that this nurse can give him a valid excuse for him to not be gone. And every time the nurse is saying that his excuse is to not be valid. Joel finally tells the nurse the absolute truth that he was going on and he was with a prostitute and that he had to fix his dad's car. And the nurse just goes on and does a good old wave at Joel. It's like, no, like, I'm not going to go on and give you what you want. Even when Joel goes on and grabs the woman by the clothing and is to try to just, he bargains with her, he is to just beg her, and inevitably it just does not work out no matter what he does. So Joel comes out of class, or comes out of school, and all of his friends are looking at Joel and they've basically said that his record is basically fucked. They go on and they say here that Joel has missed midterms that'll go on and greatly affect his grade, his GPA, or his way of possibly getting into any college and what have you. So Joel goes on and is to just be thrusting his hand in his hair, just lost for words, and he's like, how did my life, I think in his brain, we could probably consider that Joel is thinking, how is it that my life had gotten this badly? What could be the one thing that could have decided this all? And maybe it was just that Joel was just way too effing horny, and that's what was to be his undoing. So Joel goes on and asks, I think, Glenn for his bike, and then he bikes off. So he goes to this one avenue just absolutely frustrated to himself, and he's yelling, screaming, all kinds of things, just getting everything out of his system. So the next thing we see is Joel getting onto a train, figuring out where Lana is to now currently reside, and just thrust into her arms, and the two of them hug. So I think at this point, Joel is definitely willing for Lana to be his girlfriend, because he just needs this right now. So the next morning, Lana's on the phone, and it seems that they're deciding to have the plan B that Lana is going to go on and use Joel's house as basically a brothel, and that they're going to go on and they're going to go with this plan so that way Joel can make the most money to, of course, at least work on this Porsche to try to salvage something going on here. So the next thing we cut to is Lana now in this mattress store, and the plan is for Joel to get enough money to pay for his father's car. And so Joel finally does get back his mother's egg, and so now we cut to Barry, who's opening these doors for what seems like a clown car of endless women. I say clown car and not of offensive way, but it just seems like these women are endlessly coming in. And when Barry thinks that he closes the door, another knock at the door happens and there's more women coming in. At some point, supposedly, there is to be one call girl that is to actually be from the girl from Will and Grace, which I find interesting. Plus, supposedly Sean Penn at some point in this movie was to have a cameo, but I can't help but figure out where exactly that is. Maybe at some point he's to be in the school or something. I'm trying to figure out exactly the movie where I place him in. So maybe for you who are to go on and inevitably watch this, eventually try to figure out where the heck Sean Penn is in this movie. Kind of like how you need to figure out where Bill Paxton is in the movie Stripes, because supposedly Bill Paxton is in the movie Stripes. If anything, I can give you a clue of where it is. During the mud wrestling scene in Stripes, he's in the background. Because I know exactly where it is, because I've gone on to have somebody point that out to me. But it's really interesting to figure that out. How Bill Paxton is in Stripes. Anyways, so all right, we now uh, cut to a lot of guys getting their bonds exchanged, and we also cut to Lana making a bunch of phone calls. So Joel goes on and is to talk to one of his friends, and there's an interesting bit of dialogue that comes out of this. And so Joel asks this guy, it's like, okay, so you took this girl out, you took her out to do the movies, you took her out to do this, and he's going on and he's saying that by the end of that whole night, that he had paid roughly $60 for this whole date. But then the kid goes on and admits that after the fact, that Jacobson had slept with the girl, and so Joel is like, okay, that's what I'm really interested in. So, so Joel goes on and finds a guy that is parking his car getting gas. So Joel, we come to find everybody that he sees throughout town, he's basically finding them, and he's basically selling him on this because he's a good salesman. So Joel is talking to this guy casually and mentioning about how this guy is going to college soon. It's like, oh, you're going to college soon? Well, hey, if anything, uh, college girls can whiff out if you've never had experience with a woman before, because they can definitely smell ignorance. And so, if anything, maybe you should probably go on and go to this address and and pay for this seduction. And yeah, here you go. So I really love this scene because it's kind of cool. Like I always thought that it'd always be like a really cool idea uh, to do a movie where this where like it's all about helping people that have never really had these experiences before, or it's been so long. um because like I think that it's the right thing to do for everyone to be able to experience this kind of thing. And like it's not about like yeah, because like uh because it's all about just trying to get uh people to just like it's better to experience it than just watching it on a movie or TV show. Because if anything, in a movie and TV show, they say all these perfect lines and they're all lovey dovey, and when eventually you actually get into the real of it, yeah, like a movie and show doesn't come off as like it's not the same thing. Uh, because yeah, like there's no perfect thing that you can go on and say that doesn't sound like you're just telling them something they need to hear. Um, but yeah, but like it's very different between the movies and shows and what you really do in the real sheets. So yeah, so if anything, yeah, I guess experience does really matter. Uh, for those of you that are to assume that I probably never had that experience before, whatever. That's completely okay because at the end of the day, uh, I'm a gentleman and I don't have a need to tell. Anyways, so we make our way into inevitably what is to be Joel's house, and there is just wall to wall people within inside of it. So there are so many people overwhelming this house, it's kind of really hard for me to go on and focus on any one thing. But if anything, on the outside of it, also, we just start to see all these cars and all these bikes, all with all of these guys making their way to this place as this party is kicking off, it seems. There is all of a sudden also this truck that is bringing in more bed mattresses or smaller beds to be bringing into this house. So that kind of tells you that, yeah, this is all just popping off, and they're gonna make a killing here. So there is to be a woman that goes out of the house and starts to ask for a guy named Howie to say that he's next up. So we now have a guy from Princeton who goes by the name Rutherford. Richard Masur here? Masur? I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that last name. I really like this actor, and I've seen him in a couple things, but heaven forbid I can pop into my brain what exactly I know him from, because I want to be honest here. But like to see him here and kind of just be talking to Tom here. Like I'm kind of curious if maybe the cameo here is maybe because he like was somehow in part of this movie and he just somehow got this. Like I was kind of curious about Richard's experience in this film. But anyways, so we have Richard that goes on to make his way into the home, and it doesn't seem that he has any much dialogue here. He's just kind of looking around. And so as Joel sees that that Rutherford's eyes start to wander, he goes on and asks who this guy is because Joel doesn't probably remember talking to a guy like this. So Rutherford mentions that he's from Princeton and he's here for the interview. So Joel is now scrambling to be like, okay, let's get to this private room so the two of us can talk. So Rutherford goes on to Joel's resume, and it seems that all of it seems to be very all well and good. And people start popping into the room, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, like, we thought that this room was empty. Then Lana goes on into this room and thinks that this couch can open up and realizes it doesn't. So Joel says, Lana, can you excuse us? We just need a minute here. And Lana's like, well, we need the room. And Joel's like, well, I get that, but I'll only just be a minute here. So Lana is very curious what exactly Joel is having this meeting for. So she stays in there, she hangs in to hear what exactly is going on. So while that's also happening, Joel sees that there's somebody poking their head in a window to ask if a friend of theirs can go on and be a part of what's going on tonight. And Joel is to try to thrust this this bit of cover over the window to again get back into this interview. So the more that Rutherford, I think it's still Rutherford, goes over Joel's stats, talking about his SATs, and further going into all of his credentials and all the extracurricular activities that he's gone on to do, Lana smiles, and Joel looks at Lana, and eventually Rutherford mentions that, you know what, Joel, I don't think that you're quite Princeton material. And Joel looks at Rutherford and is like, well, okay, what the fuck? Like, if anything, I guess I'll go on and I'll just make my way to the University of Illinois and be fine with it. So, and he throws on some pair of glasses. So here is where we go on to have Joel that is alone in this room and he's just playing with these toy trains. Lana ends up coming in and asking Joel if he would like to have intimacy on a real train. Intimacy. God dang it, I've probably said so many cuss words and so many things here, but eventually I'm still to try to curve to try to say less things. So Joel is to be interested in what Lana is to be kind of asking here. So they do go on and they do go along with it. So Vicky interrupts and she mentions about how there's somebody on the phone for Joel and it's his parents. Joel answers the phone, and while that's going on, Lana is trying to kiss onto Joel and is trying to just whisper sweet nothings to him. So when Joel answers the phone, his parents are asking, "Hey, are you having a party? Like, who was it that was on the phone?" Like, Joel, if you are having a party, we do trust you. But if anything, yeah, like, like if you are having a party. So Joel is trying to say to his parents, "Is like, I'm not having a party. I'm not." Da, da, da. So he's basically lying to them. He's telling them everything that they want to hear. So, uh, and consistently, the mother keeps saying that that she trusts Joel's judgment. So after they go on and after they count all the money that they got, and after all the girls have been worn out, we finally do go on to have both Joel and Lana making their way to a train. And as all of a sudden Genesis is going on and playing in the background, I'm not sure if it's Phil Collins or Genesis. I always get it confused. But of course, we have the song "In the Air Tonight" playing here, which is to be an amazing song, but also I have to be like, man, a Genesis song is playing in here. It's so weird to me. But I guess like a song like this could make sense to what's going on in the scene. It really does, I think, work. Plus, also the drum things are kind of to be interesting with what's going to happen here. So, as Lana is to grab Joel's tuchus and they get on the train, they have to continue to wait for people to more and more leave. As Joel and Lana start to kiss and make out here, all of a sudden they notice that there is to be one man that is to be grabbing these ships. And he's just eye effing them. And so it just gets to the point to where Joel is so frustrated with this drunken man. Well, he looks like a drunken man that is to be just stuck on this train. Joel figures out a way as the train stops to just get rid of him, throw a blazer on him, and then go back into the train for them to finally consummate this loving upon this train. There isn't much that I can say here, but if anything, I can cut to the next scene. So, Joe goes on with the $8,000 that he had made in one night, is to retrieve his Porsche car, and is to, at this point, be driving it as slowly as he possibly can, so that way there is absolutely not a ding or damage that is to have occurred with this car, because it now seems finally that Joel understands the value of this car once he is to have basically destroyed it. So here's where Joel makes his way back to his home to come to find out that all of his furniture is to have been gone. Joel is to try to call up Lana and say that his house furniture is to all be gone and that he's hoping that this wasn't her and for her to call him back. Anyways, so at this point, somehow Guido is to be at Lana's place and he grabs the phone. Guido is to mention that he was to have been the one to have stolen Joel's furniture, and when Joel starts talking to Guido and calls him an a-hole and all these other kind of things, which Guido keeps hanging up on him, and Joel keeps calling him back. And Guido just gets more and more upset. So Guido goes on and says, you know what, I'm going to give you a chance to buy back your furniture, because I like you, Joel. So, and plus also they can come to a point where they can understand one another. So now we have Joel's parents that are at the airport and they can't see Joel anywhere. So Joel's dad just decides to grab a cab, and Joel's mother it's like, well, like what happened? Where is he? Joel is kind of busy buying back all of your furniture, Ma. So if anything, he has 2 hours before you get here, so he's going to have to take the time to buy back all of his furniture. So in your house. So we now see Guido off of this truck, and he has all of this furniture from his house, and so it comes down to this equalizer stereo that he has to pay like $300 for. So it all comes down to the last thing being his mother's clothes. There is at one point when there's party kicks off where Joel mentions to Lana how all the girls are starting to wear his mother's clothes, and he tells Lana that, hey, make sure the girls are to kind of take care with my mother's clothes, because I don't want to analyze my mother's clothes for the rest of my life to think about where stains could have come from or something. So Joe goes on and buys the clothing, but then the very last thing, as we just see that all of this furniture and all of this shit is just stacked in front of Joel's house, Joel then goes on to have the last thing be the crystal egg. And so Joel realizes that he won't have enough money really left to get that egg. And Guido is like, well, you know what, how about I go on and how about I say, like, how much do you got? $50? Okay, well, I'll go on and I'll hold you to another $300. And then if anything, I'll give you this egg now. So Vicky goes on and she chucks the egg like a football. And now we have Joel scrambling. He's hopping on furniture. He's going on and basically having to do the perfect catch here. Like, I think he probably had to go on and do in all the right moves. And he catches the crystal egg. So Guido goes on and drives off to be like, okay, all right, like, so long, Joel. So now we have Joel, Barry, and I think maybe Glenn, like, scrambling to get all this furniture in here, which, honestly, like, the way that they're scrambling to all put this furniture in here, like, I guess that they don't have anything of any kind to really quickly, move this furniture but by hand. Plus, these people don't have things like skateboards and all these kind of things to make things a lot quicker, because they didn't think of that. But anyways, so, and plus there's not as much like lifting equipment during this time period than there is now. Anyways, so by the tail end of it all, Joel is scrambling with Barry and some other guy. Maybe it's not Glenn. Yeah, maybe it's not Glenn. Guy who's not Glenn. And they're talking about fine china and whatever. And Joel is like, no, it needs to be here. It needs to be here. And Joel is like, no, like, or Barry's like, no, you're messing up centuries and this and that. So all this stuff gets put back into the house. And finally, Joel's parents arrive. Joel goes on and is to meet with his parents, and everything is to seemingly be put back in place. Joel is to go on and say that he thought that they were supposed to arrive at a different day or a different time or something like that. And his mother is like, no, 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 like, I told you, like, this day at this time. And so Joel is like, oh, I'm sorry, like, I made that mistake. So here's where the parents start to make their way through the house. And here's where we go on to have Joel's mother that is to find the egg, bring it to Joel's attention, and is to tell him that there seems to be a crack in the egg. Joel is asking his mother, "Are you kidding me?" And the mother is saying, "No, there seems to be a crack in it." Joel can't exactly figure out where the crack is, but evidently he buys to his mother that there is a crack in it. So Joel's dad goes on to say, it's like, well, I guess Joel will have to pay for it. And I'm like, mother, like, if I would have heard that, I would have taken this crystal egg, chucked it onto the ground, hoped that it broke, and then I'd be like, you don't know what I had to go through to get this egg, and now you're going on and nitpicking that there is some crack that you don't even know I caused, and you're now saying that I have to pocket this. I have to pay for it. Well, if I'm going to pay for it, I'm going to motherfucking break it. So, yeah, break that shit. That's what should have been the, oh, yeah. Yeah, he had to go through so many effing hoops to get this goddamn egg. Just for at the end of it all, to just have egg on his goddamn face, metaphorically. So Joel's dad is telling him, how about you go and how about you do some house chores? So Joel is going on and taking, God, what is it called? He's taking a rake. I was trying to figure out the word here. Joel is going on and taking a rake and raking the leaves, and he's going in the shed, and his father is to talk to Joel and say, it's like, hey, is there something you should be telling me? And Joel's like, what? So Joel's dad says that he found out about Joel's Princeton interview. And Joel's like, oh my god, what is he gonna say? What is he gonna tell me? How grounded am I? Am I grounded for life? Anyways, so the Princeton guy goes on to say that Princeton could use a guy like Joel. And Joel's like, what? And Joel's dad says, yeah, that's his exact words. So it looks like you have a pretty good chance to get in. So Joel's father hugs Joel and tells him, yeah, maybe in life you should go on and just say, what the heck, and take more chances, Joel. Yeah, take more chances, Joel. Put your life at absolute risk. Yeah, go on and completely flush your life down the toilet, Joel. Just go on ahead and just completely just ruin it, because at the end of the day, somehow it might just work out. Also, I can't help but look at stuff like maybe the Jack Black movie Orange County and kind of feel that there's some similarities in this film to that, wildly enough. But anyways, so here's where Joel goes on and meets up with Lana, and so Joel has asked Lana the question about 10 years from now, and Lana says that she's gonna do really good on her own, that she's gonna make it big, that she's very optimistic. And Joel ends up asking Lana if everything from the beginning was all just a setup, and Lana says no. So in the kind of the background and the kind of the other scenes going on here, there is all of a sudden this future enterprising kind of get together here, and everybody goes up to this podium and talks about how their small business had made X number of hundreds of dollars, or made $7, or made this amount of money, da 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 da. So Joel never gets up on this Future Enterprises podium and mentions that he had made $8,000 in one night. But if anything, by the end, he goes on and says that his business is human fulfillment and he had made $8,000 in one night. And he kind of says that as the movie is just kind of a fading off. So, because again, the big takeaway from this movie is, or the big ending of this movie is what I was trying to do, is what I kind of said before. The two of them get together, they're walking through the woods, and Lana propositions Joel to start paying for their night together. And Joel's like, well, how are you going to pay me? And she's like, well, I'll pay you by check. And Joel's like, I'm not going to take the check. It's the whole thing all over again of what I said earlier. So really that goes on and ends the film, and thank goodness, because honestly, I was having a rough time trying to do this when I was trying to do this before. For some odd reason, Facebook wasn't at all working. And that's the way that I kind of keep notes for this film. And yeah, like if that ever happens again, I am so effed. But like for somehow it was working at this time, so that's why I decided to do this review now. I'm ultimately probably thinking about if this ever happens again, like if I'm just gonna have to go on and just do it the old-fashioned way and remember whatever I can remember and just do the review that way. But like I feel that in my mind I won't be able to do it properly, or if anything, for a movie like this, I don't think I can retain it all. So that's why I kind of do this way, and I've been so relying on it. Uh, but if anyways, yeah, I enjoyed this movie. Like, I didn't go on, and I don't think I did an overall grading of it. But I feel if I came off saying that I enjoyed the adventure of this film, I hope that that meant somehow that it is to be a thumbs up movie. But I didn't think I really gave an actual grading of this film because I just thought that people would probably check it out anyways. But yeah, I'll say that this movie is to be. I'll say it's a solid. I'll say it either between a good or okay. Uh, I'll probably go with good if I'm forced. But either way, like it's still to probably say that this movie was still a thumbs up film. I wouldn't say people should rush to see it because this movie could probably be for a lot of people kind of feeling of outdated when it comes to any other kind of films that are to be more modern. So yeah, so a lot of people could be looking at this movie as something that could be fun, but there's probably other projects that are just kind of more raunchy, have more skin, or just to be more interesting than this. If anything, as far I don't know if I've said anything about future reviews in this video, because I'm sure I might have. There's a temptation to do stuff like Society, but I'm kind of iffy, and I'm kind of like, should I ask people if that movie would be okay to at some point review? Because some people may find that movie to be way too weird for them. I don't know. I've done a lot of weird in my time here, and it has really gone on to benefit me. But also, like Prison School was one of those things that did really well. But I'm like, shouldn't I have gone on and asked people if I should have done that? Well, I kind of ahead of time told people that I was doing these projects before they were going out. So if anything, people had more than enough time to rest with this. So with that said, like, if anybody had a problem with it, then it's like, well, like you guys knew about this well ahead of time. Anyways, so And people knew I was building up to getting to it, and then eventually it paid off really big, which I'm grateful for. But I ultimately have to, I think, also probably finish off that show as well because it feels like I'm leaving views on the table if I don't. Uh, there is also a lot of fun anime that is be like how much of the dumbbells that you lift is kind of a thing that I want to get into because when even looking at this movie and how Tom Cruise is doing these chest flies, I'm like, man, I want to do an anime about lifting, even though also people probably won't care about it. Um, I want to go on. I really want to do a lot of fun projects. Uh, there's still a lot of stuff still on the table that I'm having to just think about whether doing or not. I think I'm going to throw out a Scream 7 review as a very casual thing that it's like, hey, I saw this, so I'll talk about it and hope that people will accept that as a review. Because I'm not going to go on and fully immerse myself in doing a normal review for Scream 7. I just won't. Um, Not that it's that bad, it's just like there are some movies where I just decide it's not worth to put a full amount of effort in. And there's some people that go on and they ask me if I would do shorter reviews for certain things. And I'm like, I feel that I go on and I do that in every one of these videos. It's just that people don't know about it or people don't watch the whole video and they don't get how they can go on and get this shorter experience if they just watched it for longer. But again, it's all about attention spans. Some people may have attention issues in their lives, which is okay. Plus, also, if they're assuming that this is the movie and not just a review, then if anything, that's the way of which the people click on and click off of this. Plus, I think a lot of people just want the clips of the movie somewhere put in these reviews, and I'm like, dude, I'm not going to take that risk. Like, if anything, um, with how everything is just kind of popping off right now, and how I'm actually consistently getting us some momentum, I'm like, why would I take the risk of putting in videos that my videos can get claimed and I ruin this challenge or this channel? Um, like, yeah, it'd just be like, well, like I hope to get monetized, but yeah, I just used quite a bit of clips of movies and what have you, and then it completely derailed everything that I was doing here. Or I get a copyright thing that eventually all the profits that I could make off that video is going elsewhere. So it'd just be a waste of time. And so at the end of the day, I hope to continue to do well with whatever this stuff becomes. I don't think the risky business is going to be a thing that people will care about, even though I'm going to do it anyways. But there's been a lot of surprises where I've completely said that things are not going to do anything, and then they at least do decent numbers, so I can be happy about that. I don't know. I think I'm going to be cranking out as many tags that I can for this film to hope that it goes somewhere. I'm hoping that maybe this is just a Tom Cruise movie that people do like, and maybe that'll be enough. I don't know. If anything, maybe people will be really interested to see what somebody has to say about this film, um, because they want really something out of it. And I could probably be the actual one that's giving them that is telling them what they need to hear, instead of somebody that goes on and is to tell you nothing about this film. Um, I think that's a real true difference. Like, there's some people that are doing reactions of Risky Business, which is strange, uh, because feasibly, uh, like you're really having to go on and you really have to kind of curve through little parts and pieces of this film, obviously. But uh, if any, yeah, like if you're just reacting the film, like you're not going on, and yeah, I don't know. Like, I could be wrong about that. Like, it's good that people will probably make a load of money off the reactions of some of these things. But I think also a lot of reactions could also be like a clickbaiting thing because people will obviously want certain scenes, obviously want certain things from the movie. But whatever, I guess people will just have a fun time anyways. Um, I don't know. If anything, I'm getting my foot in my mouth and I'm saying like, well, hey, I'm sure a lot of these reaction people are making a killing on YouTube and they're making tons of money and they're monetized and they're doing well. And I'm the one that's just kind of to be doing this severely old fashioned and like reviews are kind of a dead art form now. But it seems that this channel doesn't seem dead enough. It's still going and it's still finding people, and I appreciate it. Um, yeah, I'm gonna get out of here so I can upload this because also I wasn't thinking that I was gonna do this. I thought I was gonna do it last night, and then I just got completely derailed, and then I needed to sleep because there's a lot of times where I'm pushing myself way too hard to where I'm ultimately like I'm fighting to stay awake. Every day is just to like I'm doing a project right as I should be like I am going to fall asleep any second now. I hope to get this project done. And that's kind of just the slippery um, the slippery edge of which that I'm just trying to push into these projects. So with that said, I'm gonna get the heck out of here. Bye, buddy. Bye, buddy.